All right, good morning and welcome to today's stock market update for Thursday, December 9th. And today we're going to talk about, is this the calm before the storm? Because stocks are in wait and see mode before we had jobless claims this morning and tomorrow's inflation report. Then we also have SFIX in free fall. We'll talk about this. Roku versus Google. I want to bring you up to speed of what happened. Travel stocks are soaring. We'll take a look at this. Gamestop is in the news again. And we have the tale of two stocks. Rent the Runway and Restoration Hardware. Anyhow, so lots to talk about. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Marcus Hypecutter. I'm a professional trader, and every morning we sift through a mountain of news websites, newsletters, and reports, and then we take the most important news and go live here to share with you what you need to know as you head into your trading day. If this is your first time here, I know it can be overwhelming, so don't worry, we have a special video just for you that I will link to in the description, and that's a great place to get started. Now, joining me is my head coach, Mark Hodge. Hey, Mark, how is it going?
It's going well, Marcus. Good morning.
All right, so Mark has 24 years of trading experience, and together we have helped thousands of regular people understand how to trade these crazy markets and actually make money way beyond what your typical financial advisor would do. So let's take a look at what happened yesterday. So yesterday marked a super quiet day. I brought up the S&P 500 here, and yesterday finished up a little bit, but it was quiet, right?
It was a third straight day of gains here, and just such a quick comeback and strong comeback. I think that losing a little steam was to be expected.
Yeah, because right now we have three things that are really moving the markets. Number one, we have the Omicron. The virus variant. You get the idea here. Number two, we have jobs because we had a worse than expected jobs report last week. And number three, we do have inflation. So these are the three things that the markets are paying attention to. So if you look at the markets this morning, the E-mini S&P, I want to switch over to a 5-minute chart because we see that pretty much we were sliding overnight going into the open here a little bit lower, because there were some news from the Omicron variant.
I saw that. So, although traders recently were betting that the Omicron variant's economic impact wouldn't be as severe as initially thought, we are seeing that it's still a concern, right? And so there was a Japanese study that found that Omicron is 4.2 times more transmissible in its early stage than Delta. So first you have the big news where it seems like it's not causing as severe an illness, which is huge, but at the same time it's also transmitting and much more infectious and spreading faster. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Right. And we talked about this, right? I mean, the day after Thanksgiving, when the news broke about this variant, I mean, at first there was panic. And now as we learn more, traders weren't too concerned about this. And now, okay, we learn a little bit more. It's more contagious. So it's one of the things that is going on and moving the markets. So the other thing is, got to keep an eye on employment data, right? Because we had the November employment data that came in much worse than expected. So this is where this morning unemployment claims were released, and they came in better than expected.
Sure, 184,000 claims. It was the lowest weekly jobless claims in 52 years. So Bryan Adams wasn't the only one starting a band and not going on unemployment in 1969, because the last time we had unemployment claims this low was September 6th, 1969.
Holy cannoli. I'm born in 1969. Ta-da! November 15th.
There you go.
Anyhow, okay. So that came in a little bit better than expected. Let's take a look at the E-minis. Let's take a look at the E-mini NASDAQ. And if we switch to a 5-minute chart, then we see, okay, the data was released right here, 7:30 on the dot Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. Not really moving the markets too much just yet. I mean, slightly positive, but not really a strong reaction. Now, the third thing that that market participants and traders are paying attention to is inflation. And tomorrow we have a key inflation report, the core CPI.
And this is the biggest report for the week, and you see it's a red flag. And I agree, traders are keeping an eye on this. But Marcus, you mentioned the three things moving the market: the Omicron variant, jobs, and inflation. And I think you could really group jobs and inflation together and make it the Fed, right? And it's not too early to say that traders are keeping an eye on the Fed, because next week the Fed will have its 2-day policy meeting where they will make a decision on interest rates. And it's expected that they will react to inflation by decreasing economic stimulus, which right now means slowing down their bond purchases. And some people are expecting that they will double their slowdown or decrease. So that's something that, so we had the scare with Omicron. Markets are going crazy. And then you had this real quick snapback. Okay, like traders are drawn to the good news like a fly, or yeah, like a fly.
That's
And
all right.
then and now it's like, okay, what next? Well, there's that Fed, right? There's that Fed, and I mean the economic stimulus, the tapering is expected, but I think that's yes, we have CPI data tomorrow, but I think that now traders are starting to realize, okay, we still have the Fed, and there's a big statement coming up.
Yeah. There's a lot going on. All right, so let's take a look at some individual stocks that are moving. I mean, Stitch Fix moving a lot, not in the right direction. I mean, yesterday down 24% after reporting better than expected earnings, but giving a lower guidance going into 2022.
Big drop, losing 24%. Interesting to see that there's like no real follow through pre-market to this one, but rough day for Stitch Fix.
It has been a huge drop. Now, Roku, let's bring this up. I mean, that's that's interesting. So, Roku actually yesterday, after as we can see, sliding here since August lower. Yesterday, Roku finally had a big day, up 18% jump in a day. That's quite a jump.
That is, and I was on a coaching call with a student, a mastermind member, and we were talking about this. I was like, "What the heck's happening with Roku?" But they announced a multi-year agreement with Google to keep YouTube and YouTube TV on its service, so it will allow 56.4 million active Roku accounts to continue to watch YouTube, YouTube TV, and Google's live streaming service without disruption. And so I guess that was an issue, but getting a pop there with
Yeah.
the news.
Now, travel stocks are just moving around like crazy. I mean, with all this Omicron variant here. So American Airlines yesterday had a good day, up 2%. But especially if you look at the cruise lines, I mean, yesterday, Carnival Cruise Lines up 5%, Royal Caribbean up 5%, NCLH. And it's basically for these guys the flavor of the day, right? I mean, are we concerned about the variant? Are we not concerned about the variant? So lots of volatility here with travel and hospitality stocks.
Agreed, and I mean, it is to be expected, but just a wild ride recently, and I mean, there you have win up. That this volatility could definitely continue. And really through into the new year.
It sure can. It sure can. As we go into the colder season right now, and this is where everybody was already concerned about rising COVID cases, and I brought it up here, and this is exactly what's happening here right now. So COVID cases are on the on the rise, and with the Omicron variant, I mean, expected to basically looking at a fourth wave that we are looking at right now, possibly. So that's definitely a concern, right? Because we hear some news. There are some states reacting to the Omicron variant. For example, New York said, you know what? If you're not fully vaccinated, no more dining for you indoors, and no more fitness clubs, no more what else? I mean, they had quite a few things where they're restricting entrance if you're not fully vaccinated.
And that's where, yes, you might see some benefit to being vaccinated with the Omicron variant, but COVID's still here. Like Delta's still uh, taken, maybe representing a huge percent of all the COVID cases. And I know in Europe it's been a mess.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right. GameStop. GameStop is in the news again. There we
Back in the
go.
news.
So GameStop reported earnings. I mean, the meme stock. Period. Right. I mean, this is where it all started with
The
meme stocks,
original.
with GameStop, and I mean, it has been a little bit more quiet after this massive run up. Still very wild swings here in GameStop, and right now a little bit an eye on okay, what earnings are they reporting? And they reported earnings, and it didn't go as well as traders were hopeful. So in pre-market trading, they're down 4.8%.
Yeah, they saw a net loss grow to 105.4 million, which was 18.8 million higher from a year ago. So they're still losing.
Yeah, and they want to become the Amazon of games and gaming in the same way as Chewy wants to be the Amazon of pet supplies, right? And everybody wants to be the Amazon of. But then we still have Amazon and we have Walmart. And I mean, these two are already competing, right? And so we'll see how this new business model will work out in the long run here. All right, EV car makers, Lucid Group in the news again after being in the news over the past few days that they actually got an SEC subpoena. So now more news for Lucid, and yesterday they were sliding down almost 7%.
Well, pre-market down 7%.
Oh, it's pre-market. Yeah, yesterday they were up.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and this is like more. So I mean, it sucks if you are a Lucid owner right now, but it's more understandable. So the stock is down after the company announced a proposed convertible senior note offering, which, subject to market and other conditions, would be for $1.75 billion. So adding more shares. That's
Adding
always
more
going to have an
shares,
impact.
diluting it a little bit more. This is why shares are down. All right. So the tales of the two companies. Let's talk about this. Rent a runway, right? So this was supposedly a great idea. Where you remember with Netflix, where you could rent the DVDs. I mean, right now Netflix is just known as a streaming client, but there was the time when you could rent the DVDs. So rent
Yeah.
the runway is something like this for women's clothes. So you can rent your clothes for a few days. And apparently, if you are a woman, it is important that you wear a new outfit to every single event. For me, hey, I'm wearing a black shirt. That's fine. But anyhow, so it sounded like a good idea. They had their IPO, but then we see what we always see. The IPO at first, they were moving higher and now sliding down. And yeah, I mean, they're down almost 10% in pre-market trading.
And this is where, similar to the DVDs with Netflix, sounds like a good idea until it comes in the mail and then it's sitting on your desk for 2 weeks and you still haven't done anything with it. So maybe the same thing with rent. I called a stock like this yesterday. I had fun with it. So this is the good old tuna fish and jelly sandwich where you don't need to take a bite out of it to know it's going to taste like crap. So just like trading this, just stay away. You don't need to risk money on this to know it's going to end badly.
Yeah, and I mean, we have talked about the IPOs. I mean, Robinhood, the IPO here. I'm switching to a weekly chart, right? Very similar picture here,
Yeah.
going higher. Coinbase also. I mean, initially, and this is what we often see, that initially we have the slide, and then
Sure.
at some point it stabilizes. So we
And
see this
Coin's a much
over and
better
over.
chart. Yeah. Coin, compared to the other two, Coin's looking better. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
I
to your
mean,
point.
Didi that we had recently, the ride sharing app, ride sharing from China, the Uber from China. Also, I mean, this is where we see it over and over again. These IPOs, they're being hyped up. We have a quick pop, and then they're often sliding. I mean, Mark, you have to keep an eye on it. Often sliding 50% before they start bouncing back.
Yeah, especially if it's something you want to own. I don't want to own Didi.
No, especially right now as
I'll
it
keep
gets.
an eye on Coin. I'll keep an eye on Coin. Maybe Hood.
Yeah, yeah. All right. RH, previous loan as restoration hardware. So that's another retailer. They had earnings. I mean, these guys are really late to the party with their earnings. But I mean, they had earnings, and traders liked what they see. Up this morning, almost 8%.
Yeah, pulling back a little bit pre-market because they were up 11%, but they beat earnings estimates and they earned $7.03 a share, which was better than 663. Also better revenue.
Yeah. All right, let's take another super quick look at the E-mini futures here to see where we are. So we're pointing to a slightly lower opening. The E-mini S&P down 0.3%, the Nasdaq down 0.34%, the Dow down 0.3%. So we'll see what happens today. I'm super excited because this volatility has given us some tremendous trading opportunities. So we're about to get ready to trade these crazy markets. If you would like to know how we do this, there is some videos that explain it, and we'll see you in the next video.
Happy trading, everybody.